Hello, welcome to USTS, the Ultimate Sports Training Show. I'll be your host for today's show, Bob Lemire. Joining me on today's show, great friend of mine, many years. I like to call him the pride of Connecticut. Eighth degree Grandmaster in Taekwondo. Fifth Dan degree in Hapkido, Master in Hapkido. Grandmaster RJ Botticello. Welcome to the show, RJ.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it.
RJ, I'm not going to call you RJ. I'm going to call you Grandmaster. See, I've known RJ so many years, and I have many years on him. He used to be the kid at the Taekwondo school when we were actually the older guys. And I call myself older guys. We were in our 30s, early 30s, late 20s. And you come in as how old were you when you started at Taekwondo with Grandmaster?
13.
All right, so you're a kid. He was our little brother, and he'll always be my little brother. But I'm going to call you Grandmaster Botticello today. And as I said, we started together back. You started in 1985, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Before I get off my rant, or get on a rant going here, just tell me a little about yourself.
Sure. I started under Grandmaster Lee in 1985, East Hartford, Connecticut, and from then on, I'd have to say my life changed, more or less, not only through the martial arts, but through, I was involved in a family that I never knew I had.
Right.
And then when we first met, all the brothers and sisters up in Pelham, it was just more of a family.
Right.
Not once did I feel out of place.
Nope.
At all,
Right.
And it was very welcoming.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the love of it.
And that started at the age of 13. Imagine,
That's it.
imagine what kids go through today, and the peer pressure and everything. And now you have a family, and the family you had. I think when you started, we were some of us were third, fourth degree,
Yeah.
masters. So you walked into that, and that's how we are in the Taekwondo family.
Right.
That's how you are with your school. You have a school now. Well, Hapkido. Talk just a little about Hapkido.
Yeah, sure. So after I achieved the first dan in Taekwondo, I wanted to add a little something. And Taekwondo is always going to be my home. That's my passion. And I started with Aikido. And, here I am at that age. You think, oh, I'm a black belt. I can handle this. It's no problem.
And limiting.
Well, it was a very humbling experience.
Of course it was, yeah.
I was thrown. I was moved in
Right.
ways I've never done before. And then fast forward later on, I ended up into Hapkido, which is similar. It's a Korean version of the
Right.
Japanese version.
Right.
Smaller circles, still manipulations. So and I have to say that really helped my Taekwondo.
Right.
As far as off balancing and center line and focusing.
Right.
To me, it was the perfect blend.
Right. Who was your instructor in Hapkido?
I started under Grandmaster Wong in West Hartford through Joe Waldron.
Okay.
And then after that, I ended up going to South Windsor. There was a Hapkido program through the town of West Hartford, Master Michael McCarty.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he moved, and then I found some teachers up in Canada.
Right.
And it was a little weird for me because obviously I couldn't drive to Canada,
Right. Yeah.
but it was a lot of virtual.
Right.
So no matter what I did, I had to video and make sure it was according to how they
cool.
wanted
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So it was very hands-on.
In the meantime, you're still going to Grandmaster Lee.
Always went
Yeah.
Grandmaster Lee.
What do you have to say about that when you were going? Because whenever I would say anything offbeat, he would let me. He'd go right into me. Go, well, maybe you shouldn't.
That was basically the same.
I know.
That was basically
Yeah.
he gave you that look, and you didn't know if he was going to hug you or hit you.
Oh yeah, and if it's funny when he hit you, and he never hit you, but
No.
when he'd punch you, that was like being knighted by the Queen of England. Yeah, because he would and he did it to me many times, and he'd laugh.
Right. Right.
And he'd hit you, and I'm like, that was a sign of affection in his
Right.
world, God rest his soul. I miss him.
know.
We're going to talk about him a lot. I want you on this show a lot, and I know it's a 2-hour ride.
No, that doesn't matter.
But
That
a
doesn't
couple
matter.
of times a year anyway, because we could talk and talk and talk. Because the funny thing is, we used to drive down. Back in the days, we started at Taekwondo with Grandmaster Lee in Lawrence. And And we stayed in Lawrence for many years. Then I started a school in Pelham because Lawrence got tough, and it was just a tough place to even park your car and stuff. But anyway, we'd all drive down, all the masters at the time or black belts, in a station wagon or whatever it was back in the days. 8 guys, crazy as you could be, having a ball, driving 2 hours. I think it was every other week or every week. I forget what it was. We were constantly there.
Right.
And even though it's New England, and we have Connecticut and Massachusetts or New Hampshire, 100 miles away, different cultures almost.
Right.
You could see that.
Right.
Nothing bad.
No.
But just it's like, wow. And so we had more fun going down there, and I know you guys enjoyed it, every other Saturday, and a 2.5 hour class to beat you to a pulp.
Oh, yeah.
He would beat us to a pulp.
Yeah, and not only just physically, but mentally.
Mentally and physically. Yeah.
And the one thing that I think was beautiful, and one of the many things about Grandmaster Lee, is he would give you only a few techniques.
Oh, yeah.
And he would drill you with those
Yeah,
few
yeah.
techniques.
Yeah.
And
Until you were ready for the next.
that's it.
And he had a way of making you want more.
Correct.
It took me, when I started back in 1973, right after Grandmaster Pelletier, and he was already green belt, Grandmaster Pelletier, and he was phenomenal at the green belt. I said, oh, there. But he was going 3-4 times a week, and I started, Miss Lee said, once a week. Oh my God, that was breaking my heart. And after about a month, Grandmaster Lee, can I come back? No, I'll tell you when. You know what I'm saying? And I go, all right. And then all of a sudden, okay, you can come twice a week.
Yep.
Oh, it was the greatest day in my life.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was every day a week. You know?
It was great.
Yeah. And it's funny. And now that school's still there,
Correct.
the location. One of Grandmaster Lee's students took that over.
East Hartford, correct.
East Hartford. Now, let people know about your school now that you have Taekwondo school.
So we opened United Korean Martial Arts in Manchester, Connecticut. It's a nonprofit organization. And the one thing that Grandmaster Lee was huge in doing was giving back to the community, no matter what. And that is one of the traditions that we're following, just like you guys in Pelham.
I see it, yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's about teaching, passing on the traditions, and giving someone the opportunity that they never had in life.
Right. And that's exactly what it is in Pelham. It's a nonprofit organization. Right. The prices are half, maybe even more than half, less than what other schools are charging, because other schools are trying to live off it, which I did for many years, tried to live off it. It's a tough business.
It is.
You 1 or 2 years, 3 years, you're doing really well. Then 12 schools open up around your area, and now it's saturated.
And they're everywhere now.
They're everywhere, and good luck to everyone.
Right.
But it's a tough business. People go, oh, you own your own business. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's expensive.
Yeah.
So to own a school and to keep a school up. Now, do you teach Hapkido and Taekwondo at the same school, or is it?
Yeah. What we do is each belt sheet, they have their Taekwondo curriculum,
Right.
their techniques from Grandmaster Lee that
Right.
we did,
Right,
and then we combine them with some of the Hapkido defenses with their grabs,
Okay.
different things like that.
Right.
So
Now,
they get a little bit of both.
And how is your testing now? When you test, are you testing just for Taekwondo, or are you testing for Hapkido and Taekwondo at the same time? When you
Test a Taekwondo test,
Yeah.
and then we have a separate Hapkido test
if they want, or when they or that's
when they're eligible.
when they're eligible. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
People are getting 2 for 1.
We try.
Yeah. And business, as I say, is up and down,
Yeah.
and down. And I think society's changed over the years. Martial arts was so big back in the day.
Oh,
And now it's organized sports, lacrosse and soccer and sports that, because a lot of people didn't want to put their kids in football back in the day or whatever. They get hurt or whatever, And now between lacrosse and soccer and all that, the kids don't have the time.
right.
And it's too bad because you need that defense, self-discipline.
Yep.
And I always said, especially the school in Pelham, when we were in Lawrence, going down with you, what a brotherhood.
Yeah,
Isn't it a brotherhood?
it is.
You die for these, everyone, you die for these guys.
And I think it was the last time, life happens. It just happens. And the last time I remember seeing you guys was at the 40th anniversary
Right.
of Grandmaster Lee's school.
Right.
And we haven't seen each other in years.
Yeah.
And
It's-
it was as if it was the first day.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you don't forget.
No.
You don't forget, and you're doing a lot. I retired from the teaching. I got my Taekwondo show here that I teach, and that, and then if a private lesson or whatever anything might happen.
Right.
But I don't have that stability of a class anymore, just because of life. He's just saying, between my wife and my
Yeah.
children and stuff.
Right.
After teaching for 40 years, I said, 35 years, I said, my wife and my children know they need a little of my time too, but I miss it so much, the teaching and seeing some of the guys. I see them once in a while.
Yep.
Especially Grandmaster Pelletier, which I haven't seen for a little while, but because I'm right down by the but you see them quite often, every couple of months.
We
the
used
crew.
to.
Yeah.
We have to get back on the schedule of training again.
Yeah.
But we try to invite each other for
Right.
testing,
Right,
black belt
right.
tests and
Yeah.
everything. So
just to have some fun.
yeah.
And
yeah.
so whereabouts in Connecticut are you now?
We're not far from United. We're in Manchester.
You're in Manchester,
Yep.
because there's maybe more. There's 4 schools that were affiliated with Grandmaster Lee
Correct.
in your area.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and that's. Do you see any of those guys much?
No, as I
it's-
said, life
life
happens.
happens.
Everybody's doing their own thing,
Right,
and
right.
we're just going with the flow. We're doing our own thing.
Right. And so your Hapkido, are you at the highest level you might be, or are you still training for your next level? Or
We're still training.
Right.
We follow the belt system of the Taekwondo system, so
Right.
it's the same belt ranks.
oh, is it really?
Correct.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's a Korean. The Korean.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the kicks, the punches, the defenses, the blocks are
Right.
the same.
Yeah.
What really gets involved is the off balancing and the grabs and the
Right.
throws.
Right.
So that's the majority of the difference.
Right. Yeah. Because like a guy like you would be great for the MMA. Well, no, not that I. Believe me, I'm not. I've never Well, when it first started, I said this is great, and then I said, at that time when it first started, it was more of a barroom brawl.
Right.
The technique was phenomenal, but they were grabbing guys that just had no martial arts skills.
Right.
I couldn't take it. I said, I'm not watching this. This is just, and then it grew and it grew, and
Right.
now I still don't watch it like a lot of people do because it's big.
It is big.
But I never really got into it. But they're good. These
Yeah,
guys, these guys are tremendous, and because you can see the double skills that they have between. Because it used to be the Hoist Gracie
Right.
boys. They would dominate.
Right.
Until other people knew how to do the grappling and the Taekwondo.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they started getting knocked out with a
Right.
a reverse round kick.
Right.
Yeah, that's just so funny. And I see you flew to Korea for Achievement Award for the Pumse.
Yeah, we had there was a non-Korean essay contest.
Right.
And I was placed, and there was people from all over the world, and one of the other gentlemen's grandmasters that was there, he was from Texas.
Yeah.
And I really didn't, I understood Taekwondo, but I have my own passion, but I really never understood the passion of the art itself
Right.
until I was in Korea.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in their blood. It's like baseball here.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we were at the Korean house. It was like a dinner and a show kind of thing.
Right.
And we're in line waiting for the buffet, and that was
Yeah.
probably toward the end.
Yep.
And the Korean head person comes over to us, who's your teacher? Who's your teacher?
Right.
Who's your teacher? So he gets to me, and I said, Grandmaster Mu Young Lee, East Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh.
He pulls me out of line,
Yeah.
brings me to the front of the
Sure.
line,
Yeah.
and had me get food first
And
before the others. And I think
That's how they are. That's yeah.
and I never knew.
No.
I knew Grandmaster
Right.
Lee was a lot of first. He
No.
was the man, but I never knew he was that
Right.
that big.
That's and you got a million stories. I went to Korea with him in Seoul for 1983 as a trainer for the collegiate.
Oh wow!
All right, and that was right before the Olympics. Grandmaster Lee was trying to groom me to be a trainer for the Olympics.
Oh wow!
but as the political machine would work.
Of course.
And we know that story. We won't get there.
Correct.
But I remember being in the airport, coming into Korea, walking into the, we're on the ground, we're in Korea, and got all our bags. And I remember whoever was at the, in charge of the line at the airport looked at my knuckles. He goes, Taekwondo. And I looked, I go, what's he talking about? And he points to my knuckles because they were all black and all banged up. And I looked and he said, Taekwondo. And now all the guys that we were with, it was the whole team. Taekwondo. It was like, wow. It was, and then they knew we were from America.
Yep.
So you were like ambassadors. And
especially with him. I mean, him being there.
he was, all of the grandmasters would tell me, they would talk to me and I would say, yeah, well, I'm not. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Right.
You have Grandmaster Mo Younglee. And I would say, and more grandmasters said that to me in Korea and in the United States.
Yeah.
You never have to worry. You have Grandmaster. And he ran the show.
Correct.
He ran the show for many, many years. And it's the stories that, and not all good. It's tough. It's a tough world out there because it's a business too.
Correct.
It's a business. But and then I got a couple of things here
Sure.
that you wrote down for me. I want to talk to you about. Third place in annual Wang's
tournament.
tournament.
Yeah,
What was that?
I've only did a couple tournaments.
Right.
Did Pumse and sparring.
Right. Yeah.
And then, don't get me wrong, competition is great.
No.
I think it's amazing. But then, as the years increased, so did the politics.
Right.
And so that was it for me.
When Grandmaster Lee, I think I was almost second dan, and we there were no tournaments. We just trained with him, and I think first or second dan, I said, Grandmaster Lee, can we do some tournaments? No. This is before he got really involved.
Really?
He goes, no, that's not Taekwondo. He goes, that's a couple of techniques, and that's it. You're not going to learn Taekwondo. And we didn't do it for a while. Then we actually kind of begged him. We wanted to fight. We had the crew, and okay. Then all of a sudden, bang, he's into it full force. He didn't get any. He wasn't halfway in anything.
Right.
So once he got into one, all of a sudden he says, all right, I'll run my own tournament, or I'll do this and I'll do that. And he had one of the most successful tournaments in the country.
Oh, look how big that was.
Many
U.S.
years.
Cup.
Well, it was the U.S. Cup. He had names for it, different names. U.S. Cup. Before that was the American Cup. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah. He started off with one, because I used to do the T-shirts.
Oh.
You remember the T-shirts,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Way back. And I used to do all his T-shirts because I own the company.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We did well. Those shirts sold. I still have some. I really do. And he'd have thousands of people all over the country. And it was tough. He'd have 2 of them a year or 3 of them a year. Maybe 2, always on a holiday.
The holiday weekend.
Oh,
right.
So people could fly from California and Florida.
And stay till 4 or 5 in the morning the next day.
Oh my God, Jesus! I remember when I fought in the Nationals up in Ohio. Be there for 8. This is not him, but that be there for 8 in the morning. Okay, I'm there at 8 in the morning. You really don't eat a breakfast because you don't know when you're going to fight.
Right.
3 o'clock the next morning,
Oh.
I fought my first fight, and there's 50 people in my weight class. 3 o'clock. So you waited all day. You didn't eat much. You didn't drink. You didn't know when you were going to get called. So what happened? That wasn't his tournaments. His tournaments were structured anyway. Yeah. That was the Nationals, so out of control, and if you kept winning, you were up for 24, 36 hours.
Oh wow!
You might have fought 36 hours after you got there in the morning. That's no way to, and that was for national competition. Boxing, you fight 1 week or once or twice in 1 week, and then you'll fight again later on another time.
It's a different game.
It's a different world, but they didn't have that. I don't know. I got out of that now. I'm not involved with it, so I don't know how they're structured now. They might have structured it different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm really out of it too when it comes to that. Yeah.
But he didn't want competition. He says, all you need is one technique. Is that what he would let us know. Is that what you want? One technique and win on one technique? I'm going to show you all of Taekwondo, in a way, and I'm not knocking anyone's competition.
No.
Because they're all great athletes.
Same.
But it's a different world.
It is. Especially nowadays.
Yeah. And wow. I miss him so much. I really do. And at the end, especially my wife was sick and stuff, and I just had to stay around and stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't see him for about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 2 weeks before he died, he called me, and I was on the road.
Yep.
And I pulled over because I had to talk to him. I wasn't going to drive and talk to him. He wanted your undivided attention.
Correct.
And he was battling cancer, and he fought that unbelievable. And he says, I'm getting better. I'm in remission. I'm going to start training again, and I want you to. And I says, oh, wow. And then he's saying, I wish we would have, I could have got you another belt sooner and this and that. Always apologetic. Wanted, and then he died only a month later or a couple of months later.
Yeah, and I think because I'm still good friends with James,
Right.
And we would always keep in contact.
Right.
And when this started to happen, when he started to get sick, I asked his permission, to give me your guys' numbers and stuff, just to
Right.
keep you in the loop.
Right. Yeah.
And even though we haven't seen each other in years,
No.
I think that was something we all took for granted.
Right.
You always think your dojang or school's going to be there. You always think your teacher's going
Always,
to be
yeah,
around.
that's
And then when
No.
they're not there.
Right.
But the one thing I do remember is at the funeral, the beauty and what he brought together
Yeah.
at the funeral, and having you guys there. And I remember,
People.
and I remember this like it was yesterday. We're saying goodbye to each other and
Right.
everything. And Grandmaster Drago looks at me. He goes, hypothetically, so what are we going to do now?
Right.
With that thought in
No,
his
I
head
know,
that
yeah.
now it's up to us.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's
And we tried to keep it going for
Yeah.
the longest time, and we're still keeping it going. You
Correct.
still keep going. As you say, life happens, and it's pretty tough,
Right.
especially as you're getting older. Just got to keep that body going.
right. And
Do you have a good training schedule? What's your training schedule?
we go Tuesday, Thursdays,
Yeah.
and Saturdays. And then I also do stuff every day in the morning.
Right,
Every day. You have to.
every day.
Whether it's stretching, whether it's just light kicks,
Right.
walking through techniques, you have to.
Right.
You have to.
You have to. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it's the problem is, and I never had a problem working out alone. I'm a loner. I'm an only child. So
Me
when
too.
All right, so you know what it is.
I do.
I don't really need to have a lot of people around. So I have no problem working out by myself. I was at the school, was it yesterday or the day before, just working out by myself on a ball.
It's peaceful.
It's kind of peaceful because my schedule isn't with everyone else.
Right.
So if your schedule isn't with everyone else, make your own schedule up
Right.
and train. But the art, you don't need anyone.
No.
You know what you need to train on. My thing is I'm not getting the bag time I want to get. I love the bag time. And where I train at different gyms. They don't have a bag. They don't even allow a bag.
Oh, really?
You can throw kicks and you can do whatever you want, but it's just they don't have bags, so not hitting that bag. So whenever I get to the school, and now I got a 6-year-old grandson, and he loves it.
That's great.
So me and him are gonna try to get a little schedule
There
going.
you go.
Just for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 40 minutes. I tried to have him on the Taekwondo show. Did you see it?
No.
He lasted 15 minutes. Well, he was only 4 at the time. And I think I'm that great where I can teach him from nothing on a show for a half hour. He was good for 15 minutes. Then he laid down on the ground and says, I'm hungry and I want to go see my meme, his grandmother. I says, we're almost done. No, I'm done.
I think that's like us adults at times,
Yeah,
right?
oh, yeah.
It's like, ooh, I'm done.
Well, yeah, it's funny because the classes we would have with Mr. Lee in Lawrence, and that's what's great to have you on the show because you lived it with us. And it'd be 100 degrees outside, and I'm not joking. It'd be 100 in Connecticut sometimes, and he had only a fan in the back, no AC.
No.
And
Except in his office.
I never knew.
Yeah, he
I
had one in
never
his
knew that.
office.
Oh yeah, I never knew that.
Later on.
Maybe later on, yeah. But he would kill us, and it didn't matter how hot it was. And as I was talking to someone the other day, I think it was Grandmaster Levesque. In the beginning, he was old school, no water. I don't know if you remember that. No water until he
No.
tells you that you can have water. He doesn't want you to stop in the middle of class running over to the bubbler.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
same with us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so even it got to a point he would say no water, no water. And as we got higher in rank, and then you guys were always lower because you started a lot after. You would have a break after about an hour of killing us. Okay, you can have water. And we would stand there when we wouldn't drink water. And he'd look, right? And he liked that. Everyone's running for water, right? And we'd stand there looking at each other going, oh, you want to play that? We're not going to take you.
Right.
Yeah, it was funny, some of
And
this
he
stuff.
saw everything. Everything.
Well, it's not he saw it. He taught us.
Well, right.
He taught us just, and if you laughed, and we had Grandmaster Pelletier, we had his brothers, we had craziness, and we'd like to laugh at the class and stuff. And I remember one day he stopped the class. He goes, "Okay, how many muscles in your body?" And I don't mean to when I talk like him. That's how we
Oh,
talk.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
How many muscles in your body do you use when you laugh? Now we're all thrown out. 2, 5, 8, and he's looking at us. All of them. No more laughing. Because he didn't want us joking around in his
Right,
class.
right.
And we're trying to keep it in, but little things like that, because we could get out of hand.
Right.
We would just, you got a bunch of crazies up from Massachusetts coming down, and
The good old days.
oh my God, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
2-hour ride up, 2-hour ride back, and insanity on both ends of the spectrum. Like 8 guys. Nobody had, you had 5 guys way in the back of a station wagon, all laying there just like, and everybody else and everyone, Grandmaster Pelletier, he would just make sure everything was craziness, what I'm saying? I'm trying to get him on the show. He seems shy with me, but we're going to talk.
We'll get him on.
Yeah.
And the one thing talking about all you guys back in the day, I remember, we'd go up there for the black belt test, and you guys would come down
Right,
here.
right, yeah.
But the thing that was when it came to the black belt test, there had to be no less than 10 to 15 of you guys on the board, and it was just intimidating,
Right.
especially if you were up there by yourself.
Right.
And it was
And one thing I always, you know this, we were all up there, but we were all still training like maniacs.
Correct.
We never stopped
Right.
training. Not that some people do, but just because you were 5th to 6th degree black belt, you trained with him, and you kept training, and you
Right.
trained harder and harder. And he would come up to me, I'm 6th, 7th degree. Bob, you changed your reverse round kick. And I'm like, I didn't change anything. I says, I did. Yeah, you don't chamber like I taught you. And then you walk away. I didn't change anything. He was just trying to say,
Right.
all right, you just listen to me because
Right.
I'm watching everything you do.
Right.
And you drop your arms sometimes when you throw your punch, which I always did anyway. Those are the old boxing things, right? But, okay, Mr. Lee, I'm a 7th degree, 6th degree, and he's just putting me right back in my place. Oh, God.
that was the beauty of it.
But you loved it.
Oh, of course.
I loved it. And the great thing having you a guest is you actually, when we ended up leaving up to, or when we were up in Mass, you were with him all the time. You had him. That's how we had him in the beginning. We had him all the time, and
Yeah.
you take it for granted. And when he said he was moving, I went, oh, no, I got to go to Connecticut because I thought he was going to shut down Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know he was going to keep Lawrence, but he kept Lawrence with the black belts at the time.
Gotcha.
And I think I was a red belt and I had my own class. We started teaching, he had a lot of his good students that he wanted to teach. I want you to teach, I want you to teach it. And we had 2 or 3 classes a night.
Oh.
No, those classes would go till late, yeah. And then everyone trained together, But you coming in at 13, and you were, when you came in, you had no knowledge at all of martial arts?
I did have, I don't know if you remember Kenny Lee, Kum Young Lee. Him and I grew up together.
Right.
And he said, I want you to go to see one of the demonstrations of my Taekwondo school. I'm like, I don't know Taekwondo. The only martial arts I knew was my grandfather and I, every Saturday, would watch Kung Fu Theater.
There you go.
And that's all I knew. So I I remember it was at a church in Manchester, and I remember Tam was there.
Tam.
I think
Tam Tram.
Yes. I think
Do you ever see him now?
No, I have no idea.
I know.
Yeah. And a couple other people that were there,
Right, yeah,
and I said I want to do it.
Yeah.
I was one of those, didn't come from a positive household, if you will.
Yeah.
And being the only child, it was just me.
Yeah.
You know, overweight as a child, very, you know, picked on and everything. And I never had anything that I could call or be safe in.
Right.
And, you know, thank God for music. Music was a huge one. And my
Okay.
parents opened to music.
Yeah.
And then ever since I met Grandmaster Lee, everything changed.
He was like another father to me.
Correct.
He was enough for that. Yeah, he's just, he said something and I would listen.
Yeah.
And he'd call me a wise guy once through her. I don't want you to fight like wise guy anymore, because if I'm fighting and somebody missed me and I gave him a chuckle, he didn't like that. And it's not like we weren't wise guys.
Right.
We were never wise guys. We were scared to be a wise guy.
Right.
But we had so much fun as a family.
Yeah.
So that's what people, and I don't know how all schools are. Maybe they're like that. All I know is my school was in Connecticut with Grandmaster Lee. The Pelham School, same thing.
Right.
You got, I don't know how many grandmasters, 8th and 9th degree grandmasters at Pelham, teaching classes. More than, and business is still tough. People
is.
don't understand the talent.
It is.
That's just sitting there. Ron Poulin.
Yeah, that was a tough
I just
one.
wanted to give him a shout out, seeing that we're talking.
Yeah, that was a
God
tough
rest his
one.
soul. God rest his soul. He died last year of COVID.
Right.
It was COVID.
Christmas Day. Good old Ron going out with a bang.
With a bang.
Yep.
I love that. Oh, Ron was just tough as nails, and a wise guy. I called him a wise guy because he
was
would
great.
he'd go right with us.
The teddy
You know?
bear.
Oh yeah, he'd tell us, he'd
Yeah.
want to see how far he could push you.
Right.
So we'd always push back and
Right.
forth, and we had more fun with him. And now you don't see many of the old guys. I mean, I forget some of the names.
I keep in contact text-wise. Grandmaster Ed Lind.
Right.
He's up in Mass.
Right.
Doing his thing. Grandmaster Wirtz, Danny.
Oh, Dan Wirtz, yeah.
Yep. Grandmaster McLaughlin.
Okay.
And so just
Yeah,
text.
okay.
Just try to keep out and keep those old ties, whether we train or not. It's
Right,
just,
right.
just a hey.
They have schools?
No.
No, none of them have a school.
No.
Yeah, unless to open up a school now, boy, I mean, it's 24/7, and it's every day. You've got to be doing something. Now, is that your permanent job, or you have another job?
And I think this is why we can do it the way that we do it.
Right, because
we're a nonprofit. I have a full-time job, and I'm blessed, and all the instructors do as well. So everybody that teaches at the school, it's all volunteer, just like you guys.
yeah, you don't see that too often.
No.
And
as you mentioned, I do understand you have to make a living, and I do understand that. But to me, there's a line that you shouldn't cross.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Right. Yeah. I know. I watch some people and they do seem like they're making it, but I don't know, because unless you have, I'm saying at least 100 students, you got bills are unbelievable. Whether you own your own building or whether the lights or the insurance. I don't know what insurance is now. Is it crazy?
Connecticut is.
Connecticut is.
Connecticut is.
Because I was doing private lessons at Textron after work, and boy, it was cheap. It was cheap for me to get insurance on any student that I got. But the school itself must be, to have that.
Yeah, the liability and then everything else.
Well, anything can happen.
Right.
Knock on wood.
And every day, nowadays you got to protect everything.
Oh, because back in the day, you and I, we've seen injuries, especially at tests. That's what happened. People, you always push yourself at a test. You got to jump over more people. You got to do more boards or something, and bones break.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the thing. Then now, you don't know if you're gonna have a lawyer knocking on your door the next day. So you gotta have a good form.
Right.
You must have a good lawyer, I guess. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's
a
the
good
best.
form. Yeah,
he's the best.
Yeah, and they got to sign that form, knowing what they're getting into. But the injury isn't like what people would think. I think in basketball, you get your little children in basketball. You don't have to say football because that's just ridiculous.
Right.
That's how that's just getting hurt. But basketball, you're going up in the air, you come down on someone's ankle, you just blew your knee out.
That's right.
That could be out for the rest of your life. So we're more structured. All right, Taekwondo, if you have a good instructor, as yourself, to prevent the injury, to throw the kick right, to throw these any movement, or when you're taking people down, not to hurt each other.
And I think, I'm sorry.
No.
And I think that's where we were blessed because that's
Right.
how Grandmaster Lee was.
Right. Never got hurt. Never.
You know, we would have bumps and bruises, and if things happen. But because he was such a technician and he watched everything, the foot placement, your hand placement, that helped down the long road.
See, people wouldn't understand unless they had him for an
No.
instructor, and he influenced so many people, and I mean grandmasters all over the world. If I was with him, as you said, they would take you aside, and they'd want you to know what you had there.
Right.
Now, at the end, as you say, politics and the Olympics and stuff. Boy, I think that hurt him. He was so he worked
was
so
crushed.
hard. He was crushed because of seeing how people, the power. There was a power thing that everyone wanted to have, and that's not what he was about.
No.
He had a vision, and his vision, like I say, he had the greatest tournaments in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo, and they were known to all around the country. They were flying in from Canada.
Right.
I remember Mexico, Canada. It was like, wow, the Canadian had their own team. They loved them, and then he'd have big meals for us after. Remember when we used to stay with him all day? And then they'd have the Korean meals.
Yeah, and in between your break, you'd hoping like the bulgogi wouldn't run out, or the japchae wouldn't run out.
Can I have 5 helpings of the bulgogi?
Exactly.
It's funny because that's where I first learned a lot of the Korean food. And kimchi, what's kimchi? I ain't eating that. And then I got hooked. On kimchi. And do you like kimchi?
I love
All right.
kimchi.
And and the thing is, I would start buying it because I can't make it. Here, this is how you make it. You try to make it like Mrs. Lee would make it.
Oh, no.
No. And you'd buy it. Now, it wasn't even close, but I would buy it at Korean stores,
Right.
And I would eat it. Your breath would be so bad, and you'd be losing friends. And I'd eat so much. I'd have ice cream and with kimchi on the side, right? And my stomach, all of a sudden, over the days, I'm going,
Yep.
my stomach hurts, and what's wrong? My wife would go, stop eating that stuff. We went to a restaurant 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had kimchi. They had a kimchi in a salad bowl with rice and whatever. I devoured that, and I had a lot left over. Brought it home, put it in the refrigerator. My wife opened the refrigerator the next morning. She goes, "That goes in the barrel."
That's what my wife says. She goes, "Put it downstairs."
Get it
It's great.
And in 2 days, my breath kind of come back, but it's just, and it's the greatest. And if you don't know what kimchi is, how would we explain it? Cabbage and spices and
It's fermented cabbage.
fermented.
You're right.
And they make it, put it into a jar and dig it into the ground back in the day.
Well, that's how Kenny Lee's mom. They would have little flags in the backyard, and it would be in a big jar. 6 months, it would ferment.
6 months. And that's when you have the greatest.
Oh.
Now, Mrs. Lee didn't do that, did she? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Because her kimchi was second to none.
The whole time they would make food.
Anything.
All the wives back then would make the food for the tournament competitors and even go to their house.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I miss those days so bad.
And you make a great point, because I think not only does that food bring us, taste memories, but it also brings memory of him.
All right. Oh, of course.
And that,
yeah.
so it's a special bond.
Yeah,
for
and
us.
we learned the Korean heritage and the Korean way through him.
Correct.
We learn a lot because young not wise guys, but young wild American kids, and you've got this grandmaster coming from Korea, learning the language. Boy, he slowed you down. He says, "Oh, you have a lot of energy. Okay, we'll work with that energy."
Yeah.
And he did. He
Yep.
did. And that's why it's fun to talk to someone like yourself. I could talk to all my guys, but we were always together. But we weren't together that much.
Right.
We only seen you on every whatever. Did you go to those classes every 2 weeks, or were you able to do that?
I tried to.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Or were you too young? Because at the end, I don't know if we were doing it once I opened the school in 1990. Were we doing it after
No.
1990?
After I'd never been to the Lowell or Lawrence school. I'd been to Pelham.
Right, the Pelham, yeah.
Right.
That was 1990. We opened the Pelham school.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was okay. So I was 5 years in
Right,
at
okay,
that point. So yeah, I remember the first time I was at your school was when I tested for third Dan, I think.
Okay.
Third degree.
Wow.
That was the first time, and then the first time we got together after Grandmaster Lee's funeral was up there, and it was just so emotional because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was just the first time,
Right. Oh,
without
yeah.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many movies because I used to that before the phone, before your phone, anyone had a phone. I always had a movie camera, and Mr. Cartier always had that.
Yeah.
Master Cartier. We have so many movies of it. I'm just hoping they're not dead because I had the big V8.
Right.
And all these pictures of him young, and I've got to try to get them out.
Yeah, that would.
I've got thousands. I have my son when he was 8, and 8 years old playing football all the way till he was like 19. Every game, and any sport that we did, and any time we had a tournament or exhibition, I had exhibitions that we all did. You bet you're right in a lot of them.
Well, the best thing nowadays is you can easily
You
get
can.
someone to transfer.
The
Thank
problem
God.
the problem is if you didn't put them in a safe place, they mold out and
That's
they
true.
die. They brittle, and you put them in your VCR, and they either destroy your VCR, or they just don't come out. They just
It's almost
die.
you're afraid to play him.
You are?
Yeah.
And I do. I put them in there and I look, and then I have to wash the heads on the
Yeah.
old VCRs because you can't even get a VCR. I'm
Right.
talking about the 8 tracks.
Yeah.
I got a couple of them, and then I keep saying I'll do it. And you know how you put things off. I'm busy right now, but yeah. So we're going to be doing a show, you and me, in about a half hour.
Yes, sir.
And we'll do some Hapkido.
Whatever you want.
And I told you, I got the mic on, so you can't throw me around like a rag doll. So
I was hoping you'd throw me.
no, I ain't throwing anybody. I'm gonna let you do the show. You're gonna do the whole show.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a half-hour show. Yeah, and anyone could watch this we're on YouTube now. We just come on a couple of months ago. YouTube. TKD or Grandmaster Bob Lemire, he'll pop up all my shows, and DATV has all the shows around here and in New England. That's why I want to do a few shows with you because
Sure.
the talent you have, and you're a humble guy, and I know the talent you have, not many people have. To be a master at Hapkido and a grandmaster in Taekwondo. You should be. Are you writing at all? Are you trying to write a book? Are you ever thinking or write memoirs?
That has it's been on my mind.
You got to do it.
I
You gotta
know.
do it. It's just a matter of. I've been doing it for years, but then I stop. I stop. I got notebooks like that, but 5 pages in each notebook because each time I'm gonna start again, and I'll write stories of all our adventures back in the day, whatever, and Grandmaster Lee's teaching, and then I stop. The notebook goes somewhere else. Then all of a sudden I collect all notebooks all over the house, and I go. Well, I got a lot here. Keep writing. But and now that I'm almost ready to fully retire completely, I'll have a lot of time on my hands.
Oh, don't you dare.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about retiring from my other job.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
I never
Good.
completely retire from Taekwondo. I'll always teach one way or another. I've been doing the show here, the Taekwondo show here in Pelham. I started in 1990. That's 33 years.
Wow.
33 years of shows. I mean, I lost count of how many I have. Been with these guys for a number of years, but back in 1990, I was in Pelham. They had their TV studio. So there's a lot of, it's all Grandmaster Lee's teaching Taekwondo. And all those shows, I couldn't get them on the show. Grandmaster Lee, okay, I'm ready. All right, next week? Oh, I can't next week. And that went on for years. And then
Humble.
well, no, he couldn't. He was a busy guy.
Okay, yeah.
And you don't do tournaments. You don't have
No.
it. Guys don't do any tournaments.
No. We were talking about doing something with the inner schools and, just having fun, just getting everybody together.
Sometimes you don't even have to have the sparring.
No.
You could do a tournament with breaking,
Right.
pomse,
Right.
special techniques, back and forth with your partner.
Yeah.
And people love that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's something that you'll get nervous, but you don't worry about fighting.
Right.
Because a lot of people get nervous about fighting.
Yeah.
Either you're young or you have a job to go to the next day, and it's kind of tough.
True.
Is it in the Olympics? I forget if it's still in the Olympics.
I think it is.
I haven't.
I asked Grandmaster Lee one time. I said, "Did you watch the Olympics, the Taekwondo?"
No.
He's like, "No, I don't. No, I don't like that."
He taught us.
I was like, and that was it. That
He
conversation.
taught it. That's what I'm saying.
That's it.
He had the attitude, and we begged him to go to tournaments. And then after a while, we were going to tournaments, and we go, I don't like it. I want Mr. Lee. All I want is to train with Mr. Lee and my
Right.
boys, and the boys.
Right.
And and it's not just our school. A lot of schools and a lot of sports. That's the great thing about sports. You get a camaraderie with your friends, and if you're on a winning baseball team, there's nothing like it.
No.
Our school was always like a winning baseball team or a football team. We always were in that mode.
Yeah.
Let's go to class. Let's beat each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the sparring classes we would have? We would beat each other, and no pads.
No.
You didn't need no pads, no headgear. And we would go. No one would get hurt. We had self-control.
Yeah.
And you enjoy yourself. And then I remember we'd drive home, or even with you guys. Oh, nice sparring. Yeah, look at the bruise. Oh, yeah, well, look at the bruise you get. And you had them all over your body.
You look like a twister board
Oh,
going home.
you're all beat up. Yeah, it's so much fun. And Mrs. McLaughlin, Grandmaster McLaughlin,
Yes.
how's she doing? I want to give her a shout out.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
I always tell her and Grandmaster Pelletier, it's like now we have two Mr. Lees in one school,
There you
know,
go.
and it's great.
She texted me because I put something on Facebook the other day, and she texted, "You still got it," something like that. And I go, "All right, there's this," because she was the greatest.
She still is.
Probably one of the greatest women taekwondoists,
No doubt.
I've ever met.
No doubt.
And humble as you can be. I remember going to national competitions, and she would take out the big girls, and she would go right after them, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And she wasn't a big girl, but she was as fast and as limber as any woman that
Yeah.
or any martial artist that I've ever seen.
And it was great because, people said, "Oh, yeah, I just got out of Grandmaster Lee's class. I'm exhausted." And they would say the same thing about Grandmaster McLaughlin.
Right.
It's like, "Oh, yeah, we're going to Grandmaster Jones' class." Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he had you guys teaching there for a while.
Well, yeah,
while he was there.
She was running a morning show.
Oh, so
morning show.
Yeah, that's how we should have done it. Yeah, break it up a little, and then he had his own classes.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But there was a time where he stepped back, you get burned out, and
You do.
He
You
took
get
time
tired.
out, and then, different people covered. The school was still open, which was great.
Right.
And then he came back, and I think whether he was there for one day a week
Right.
or whatever, just knowing he was still around.
He was such a great grandmaster that he could have just went to a big auditorium and just say, "I'm going to give a 2-hour class,
Yeah.
And this is what you will pay," and people would have paid around the country.
Yes, they
He
would.
never- I don't think he ever did that. I mean, I remember we used to have big special, because he had a great big school, and he'd have special guests every once in a while, and we would have big special classes. But he could have done that around the world. And he didn't, because of his, he had his wife and he had his children.
He was busy.
He was busy. He had life.
Life happens.
Yeah. But he had the talent and it reflects on a guy like yourself.
And you guys.
Right. And anyone I've ever talked to about him or his students say the same thing. They say, "What a unbelievable school," and Grandmaster Park, up in New Hampshire.
Yep.
He was very good friends with Grandmaster Lee. We got very close to him. You're very close to him. I don't see him as much as I used to, but he was like to me, he was like a brother of Grandmaster Lee, and now he's a brother of ours.
Of course. And I never met him till actually the funeral. That was the first time I ever met him.
Isn't that wild? Wow. Yeah, because he would come when we had the school in Lawrence.
Okay.
When he came from Korea, And or I'm not sure if he just came from Korea or was living somewhere in the United States. Then all of a sudden, him and Mr. Lee got really close. They got really close. So I remember him coming down to school in Lawrence, very first time. Hey, how you doing? And I think I was the same rank as him. So we always had a brotherhood type of thing.
Gotcha.
Like, he'd bow to me and I'd give him a little bow too. And we're both the same, my friend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why the respect that you have, and it's almost like you should be respecting your elders.
Right.
Everyone should respect the elders in the United States, and it's not that way. It's like, oh, he's old. Not when you're a grandmaster. You know what I'm saying? Grandmaster Lee taught us that. Or when you've learned an art and you kept it up, all right? You know how to respect other people for what they've done.
Right.
And it's anything. Am I
Right.
right?
And also that to respect yourself.
That's
You know,
right.
he was a big advocate of that, and
He, when we would talk, no matter what I would say to him, he'd say, no. Because I would say, oh, Mr. Lee. I remember one day I said, Mr. Lee, we went to a restaurant. I'll have a salad, a mashed potato, and not a mashed potato, baked potato salad, and something else. You have to eat meat. I says, I really don't eat meat much anymore. You need the protein. Wow. So I started eating meat again.
sir.
I says, all right, I'll take the protein. I liked meat,
Right.
But maybe my wife at the time was pushing off it or whatever, and I went back to eating meat.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Anything you want. And I think, and I'm not sure about you, but when you talk to your students, you can hear him talking,
Always.
and you're telling the students something, and is that how I should be saying it to them? And you know what I'm saying?
And we learn, and we,
you learn.
lucky for me, I have some students that had Grandmaster Lee as a teacher.
Right.
So it's a different generation nowadays,
Right.
but we still remember how it was, and we can still hear that voice, even when we're teaching. Don't drop the leg or you chamber that kick, and
Higher chamber.
but that's it.
Chamber higher.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or the one more round.
Oh, yeah. Okay, one more round. I remember one day, I said this in the last show with Grandmaster Levesque. And you might have been out there. Okay, jump, reverse, round kick in the mirror. All right. Now, after 5 or 10 jump, reverse, round kicks, you're tired. He walked into his office, and we're jump, reverse, round kicks. All right. And he's looking out the window.
Still watching?
He's watching. He picks up the phone. All right. And I went, he's on the phone, and we're going to keep doing this. And I see people, he's on the phone like this. And I see people bent over, trying to breathe. He'd say, Bob, keep kicking. All right. So he'd keep kicking. And years later, I asked him, I said, Mr. Lee, you remember when, and he'd always deny it, Do you remember when you would go in the other room and make us do jump, reverse, round kicks? And he'd start laughing, with that laugh.
Yep.
I says, and I remember you went on the phone. I says, I don't think there was anybody on the other side of that phone. You knew? He starts laughing. Then he punched me. He goes, you knew? I go, well, you did it more than once.
Right.
You'd go there, you'd pick up the phone, and you'd watch, and I'll make believe on the phone, and they got to keep kicking jump, reverse, round kick.
Yep.
How many jump, reverse, round kicks you think you do in a row before all of a sudden your legs just want to fall apart?
Well, I remember on black belt test, he had to start. That was the first drill. That
Yeah,
was.
thank you.
It's like, oh yeah, okay, it's going to be a good day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not getting away with anything. No.
No,
Oh,
no.
you thought this was going to be easy?
Right,
That's
exactly,
what you would say, yeah.
exactly.
Was that an easy test? Are you tired? No. Oh, okay. Next time
Now
you're
we
going
go.
to be
Right.
I remember he would say to me, Bob, were you so after my class? And the very first time I said, he asked me that question. No, Mr. Lee, I was good. I wasn't sore. Oh, then you weren't working out hard enough. We're going to have to do. Oh, boy, and he did. He remembered that, and the next time, doubled the way he was going to work out with you. He wanted you sore and hurt the next day.
Yeah.
And if you weren't, then you didn't train hard that day.
And I think we all remember. I mean, in East Hartford, he would come out of his office because we would all get he'd be in his office, and we're all sitting there stretching, ready for class. The minute he would come on the mat, we would automatically know if we were in trouble, because if he walked out with just that straight no look, and he would just nod his head,
Yeah.
we'd look at each other. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
And then there were days where hey, how are you? And
In a
everything.
better
Like,
mood.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But that was it. That was it.
and,
it was
and
beauty.
If It had to happen to you because it happened to everyone. If you, by any chance you said anything or did anything that he was displeased with, you got the grimace.
Oh.
His mouth would go down like this. We always used to do it. He'd go, and I go, oh, why did I say
And it would
that?
go right through you.
Oh yeah,
Right through you. Oh,
yeah.
man.
He'd be silent, and that silence and the stare, and I'm like, wow, this man's powerful, you know. And he never told you. He was so simple. He was so simple of the way he would teach
Right.
that you would understand it. And I got a feeling that's how you try to. And I know how you teach, and I know how you are. You've taken his humbleness, and you brought it to yourself, saying, even though you're the grandmaster, these students are going to teach you something also, or a new student.
And it's funny you said that because I told my class, I think it was last week or the week before, I learn so much more from them
Yeah.
than they do me.
That's right.
And it's just
Life.
right.
Life. You're learning
Right.
life. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, am I going to make mistakes as a teacher? Absolutely. And I expect them to, but that's how we all learn
That's
together.
Right. That's right. Well, you know, it's funny because a teacher, when you're a teacher, and a teacher of anything, whether it's music, in a school, regular school, high school, you get 35 students in a class. You got 35 different personalities,
Right.
35 different lives, 35 people with different problems. And you're trying to blend them into one class.
Right.
And you do it. And for that 30 minutes or that 1 hour, they forget everything except for what's going on. And that's a unity. And that's psychology.
Right.
That's good for your psyche, and it's good for your whole body to get all the problems out for a little while. And in the meantime, you're getting into a great shape. You're learning a martial art. You know, we're almost done. We've been here. We've been doing this for an hour.
This is great.
We just scratched the surface.
Yes, we did.
We scratched this. I've got to get you. I want to get a couple of black belts.
Sure.
On in this show because we'd be bouncing off each other like crazy men. Because whether it's grandmaster, all the grandmasters.
All of us.
Eventually, I want to get everyone on, and it's pretty tough because my schedule and their schedule are pretty tough.
Yeah.
And like you drove 2 hours, and all I could make it was today at
No.
2 o'clock. But I mean, that's what happens. It's been a 2-hour ride.
Well, I think at this point in our lives, we're at a different, not only physically but mentally.
Yeah.
I think
2 hours is
right.
You're thinking in 2
Right.
hours. Your brain.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're there. You're going, "Wow, that was a
Right.
quick 2 hours." Yeah.
Right.
And but thank you so much. So your school is what's the location of your school?
Manchester, Connecticut.
Yeah.
United Korean Martial Arts.
United Korean, and your website.
www.ukmaselfdefense.com.
Excellent.
Yep.
And we're on YouTube now. It's TKD Grandmaster Bob Lemire, but if you put Grandmaster Bob Lemire, you'll probably get it too. You get a podcast, and you get the Taekwondo show, which we're going to do next. And you'll be able to see Grandmaster Botticello do some of his Hapkido. Right? We do Taekwondo almost every week, so
Sure.
Hapkido is going to be a little variety. It'd be great
Sure.
for them.
And I can't thank you enough, everybody here, and
Yes.
all my instructors, the school, my students, everybody, our whole family.
Right, the
So
family.
it's just a blessing to be here.
It's the family, yeah, the family that never will always be together.
That's right.
Always. So thank you so much, Grandmaster Botticelli.
Thank you, sir.
We'll do it again, maybe in a couple of months, hopefully, if you
Yes,
can.
sir.
Okay, till next time. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have fun and train hard.